Ju-yeon is on the phone with her fiancé, Kim Soo-hyun, a top-secret agent, while stuck on the side of the road with a flat tire in the snow. A mysterious man offers to help, but she declines. The mysterious man, Jang Kyung-chul, is a sadistic serial killer who attacks her and knocks her unconscious before dragging her away into his van. He takes her to a space behind his house, where she pleads with him not to kill her because she is pregnant, but he dismembers her anyway, during which her ring falls off and into a gutter. The following day, a boy finds a severed ear in a field, which leads to a widespread search of the area. Kim and the father of Ju-yeon, who is the former police chief, arrive at the scene as the search party discovers the severed head of Ju-yeon in a stream of water. Kim requests 2 weeks off duty to mourn his fiancée. He also receives a high-end tracking device with an inbuilt microphone, referred to as the capsule, from a colleague before leaving. The former chief of police hands Kim the files of the 4 prime suspects. Kim visits the first suspect at night. He questions the suspect, who has no knowledge about the crime, before crushing his balls. The tortured suspect is later hospitalized and confesses his own murders to the police. Kim attacked the second suspect on the streets, but that also proved futile. Meanwhile, Jang has spotted his next victim at a bus stop. He offers the stranded woman a ride before attacking her along the way, knocking her unconscious with a metal rod. He takes her to the space behind his home, where he decapitates her on a guillotine. The following day, Kim goes to inquire about Jang's whereabouts at his parents' residence, which is his last known address. Kim meets Jang's son, who takes him over to his current place of residence. He searches Jang's room and unlocks drawers full of women's bags, bras, and other belongings. He finds a door to the open space behind the house, where he discovers his wife's ring in the gutter. Later that afternoon, Jang, who also works as a driver of a school van, picks up a group of schoolgirls to drop them off at their homes, but this time there is a tracking device on his van. The last of the girls falls asleep in the van, and he drives her to a remote location. He has the young lady tied up in one of the greenhouses and is getting ready to assault her when he hears someone calling to him. He grabs a sickle and goes to investigate who it is, only for Kim to show up. He is surprised anyone could figure out his location so quickly. He then launches an attack at Kim, but Kim is able to evade his attacks and restrain him before knocking him unconscious on a rock. He contemplates killing him but decides against it and rather breaks his wrist. He makes him swallow the capsule and leaves him unconscious in a ditch. Jang awakens to find an envelope filled with cash by his side, which is meant to be for his treatment, and he wonders what kind of crazy person Kim must be. He makes his way out onto a dark, quiet street where he stops a passing taxi. Within the cab are 2 men apparently headed in his direction as well. The men clearly have the intent of killing him, which becomes clearer as the drive continues, but Jang is quick to stab them both repeatedly before dumping their bodies in the woods. Jang gets his broken wrist treated at a clinic, where he meets a young nurse on duty. The nurse goes into the treatment room only to find Jang already seated and waiting for her there. He orders her to strip, which the nurse reluctantly obliges while sobbing. Kim listens in on what is happening and immediately goes in and starts assaulting Jang. He slices off Jang's Achilles tendon and then asks the nurse to treat him. Jang wakes up at a car park this time and quickly starts searching himself and the car for a tracker, but finds nothing. He drives off to Taeju's, a fellow serial killer's home, to spend the night. At dinner, he tells Taeju about his new tormentor while Taeju feasts on human flesh. Taeju thinks it's absolutely hilarious and tells him he has finally bit off more than he can chew, no pun intended. Meanwhile, Kim, who is on his way to their location, receives a call from Se-yeon, Ju-yeon's sister, pleading with him to put a stop to his vigilante crusade and return home, which he refuses. As Jang turns in for the night, Taeju decides to fix his next meal and drags a woman being held captive by her chains to the kitchen. Kim once again arrives just in time, and the 2 men get into a scuffle before he is finally able to restrain Taeju and tie him up. Jang, sensing something is amiss due to the struggle, grabs a shotgun and arrives at the kitchen just as Kim is about to start cutting up Taeju. Kim is able to evade the gunshots and make an escape. Jang unties Taeju from his restraints. Kim runs into Taeju in the corridor, and he beats him unconscious with a metal rod. Jang then appears with the shotgun once again, but he is also beaten repeatedly on his head with a metal rod until he is also unconscious and taken away for treatment. The police show up the next morning to take Taeju and his mistress into custody. Kim is questioned about the effectiveness of the capsule tracker by his colleague, prompting him to quickly silence his colleague as Jang, who is recovering from his treatment behind them, could be listening in on their conversation. Jang wakes up later in a tunnel full of excitement. He then starts communicating with Kim via the capsule, telling him it has been a fun ride and that he has finally caught on to what he's been doing. He tells him he has figured out that he is Ju Yun's fiancé and that he should have killed him when he had the chance. He finally taunts him by asking if he is aware Ju Yun was pregnant when he killed her, an information Kim wasn't aware of. Jang takes several laxatives from a pharmacy, which trigger diarrhea. He finds the capsule tracker within his stool and then forces it down the throat of the taxi driver, who stops to use the restroom before driving off in his car. Kim tries to track him down at all his last known locations, but with no luck. He then rushes to the hospital where Tae-ju is being held for treatment to question him about Jang's possible hideout. Tae-ju tells him Jang will definitely get even by going after the family of his deceased fiancé, after which he will give himself up to the police. Kim then splits his mouth open due to his irritating laughter. He makes a call to the chief of police to alert him as he drives off to the location of his in-laws' residence. Meanwhile, Jang is already at the former chief's home, torturing him. He stops and hides when he hears Se-yun make an entrance before grabbing her. Kim arrives at the former chief's place to find a slew of police officers. He is confronted by the current police chief for playing such a risky game that has endangered lives. He then goes in to find the former chief in bloody bandages. The police chief receives a call from Jang, who relays some information before asking to speak to Kim. He taunts Kim and asks him who he thinks won their little game. The police find Se-yun's body in an alley. Jang drives to the location where he told the police chief to pick him up and stands there waving his murder knife in his bloody attire. Kim drives frantically to said location, scoops him up in his car, and drives off before the police can react. He drives him to Jang's place, where he ties him up on the guillotine in the space behind his home, where he usually carries out his murders. Kim tells Jang he wants to see him suffer and be scared before he finally kills him. Jang initially pleads for his life, but then tells Kim that he has already lost and that he has never been scared of anything in his life, so he should go ahead and kill him and be done with it. Kim ties a rope to the guillotine blade through the door and then secures the rope in Jang's mouth before leaving. Jang's family arrives just as he is leaving the premises. They unknowingly pull the rope from Jang's mouth as they try to open the door, only for the blade to fall on Jang's neck and decapitate him. Kim breaks into uncontrollable tears as he walks away. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and leave a like. Write down in the comments what movie you would like us to recap next.